Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, and today we're going to get into some more Great League Go Battle League battles. You saw the last video, Season 3 hype is here. I used double Mud Boys, but I don't plan to stick with double Mud Boys for all of Great League this season around. I have an Azu, Ferrothorn, Vigoroth team that I've been having some pretty good success with, but I also want to just try a bunch of new things. There are a lot of hype Pokemon coming out in this new Season 3 meta, and I want to test as much as I possibly can for you guys in case you don't have the resources for it, or if you just want to see it in action before using it yourself. I'm also going to try and put together the best possible teams of 3 that I can so you can have success with it. So today's video is going to be featuring Shadow Machamp. I got Azumarill and Umbreon behind it, and I already know some of the strengths and the weaknesses of the team off the bat from using it even before I used it, and we're able to play around some of them, but we'll talk about it more as we get into the play-by-play. Now, before I do get into that, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is extremely appreciated, and by the time by the time you're seeing this video, this day of the video, where you're seeing it right now, at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I will be doing my second test Twitch stream. I'm trying to slowly get myself comfortable into Twitch, so if you guys want to come by, the support would be really appreciated. Don't have too much to offer other than this beautiful face and some awesome GBL sets, which I will be doing on stream. So if you want to come by, please do. Be really appreciated. Let's jump into these battles and test out Shadow Machamp. So right off the bat with this team, the biggest weakness that should stand out is an Azumarill weakness, considering the fact that Machamp and Umbreon both would take super effective damage from Azumarill's fairy typing, or if it's running Play Rough essentially. Not all Azumarills are running Play Rough though, so that's kind of what I'm banking on. So to counter that, I'm running my Azumarill with Play Rough and Hydro Pump. So that's my way of essentially countering Azumarills with my own Azumarill. Now, getting into this first match, their opponent's throwing a Sky Attack here. It lands on my Azumarill. I was able to essentially catch the charge move. They bring in a Deoxys to counter my Azumarill, but luckily I'm at a 2 shield to 1 shield advantage because of the fact that I threw my charge move and got my Machamp out. They're going for a charge move, ends up being a Rock Slide. I was expecting it to be a Thunderbolt, which is why I shielded, but now we're even on shields, and I'm not really expecting them to want to give up their second shield so quickly, so I go immediately for the Hydro Pump, land it, awesome. Now, we're going to continue throwing quick moves at each other. I'm still kind of expecting a Thunderbolt, but at this point I've gotten the Deoxys low enough where I'm just going to let my Azumarill go down, but they throw another Rock Slide. I'm like, oh, awesome. I can actually win switch advantage here. I'll go for a Play Rough. This will either get their last shield, or it will take out the Deoxys. So their Deoxys must be running Rock Slide, Psycho Boost, just because after they got my shield, I would have expected them to throw the bigger charge move. And now here their Skarmory comes back out, and I'm hoping to get all the way to a Hydro Pump. Unfortunately, I'm just falling short. The next quick move would have taken Azu out, so I have to go for the Play Rough, and they don't shield. I was like, wow, you are either one expert level counter, or you were just ready for your Skarmory to go down, because that was impressive that they did not shield that Play Rough that came through. So I sent in my Umbreon. I know Umbreon can tank a lot, and essentially the logic behind building this team was that Machamp is going to be weak to fighters, and actually now I think about it, wow, I don't know why this didn't occur to me. Machamp would also be weak to Charmers, and Umbreon's also Dark type, so it's super weak to Charm. Luckily in this set, didn't come across a single Charmer. I actually did 2 sets and didn't come across a single Charmer. The main weakness I had thought about was flying types like Altaria and whatnot. So Azumarill can handle that with Play Rough and Hydro Pump, and then Umbreon has very solid neutral matchups against flyers. It's not going to deal super effective damage, but could definitely tank their attacks while also dealing damage because Umbreon could be a bit spammy. So luckily I didn't run into any Charmers. Now that I think about that though, this team is very dependent on how popular Charmers might become, and if you do want to use this team, because I do have success with it still, watch out for Charmers. Flyers, not too much of an issue. So, throwing, going for another foul play here. This will take out the Whiscash's remaining health and win me the match once it goes through. So, oh no, my bad. That's why it wins me the match. They bring in their Skarmory and they decide to quit. I'm sorry, I got so caught up in just explaining the Charmer thing that I forgot how that match ended. That Skarmory must have had no energy, plus I'm pretty sure my Umbreon had enough health to tank another Sky Attack, and I could have really just committed to a Snarl down on the Skarmory, and even then, probably would have gotten to a Foul Play before I got to a Sky Attack to win that last match. So I can understand why they quit. Now, getting into this next match, we're going up against JCho89. I see him on King's channel a bit, I follow him on Twitter. Great opponent, very skilled trainer, very exciting battle ahead. Not so much, I get countered pretty hard. So, I lost lead there, I bring in Azumarill, he hard counters me with Abomasnow. So this is already off to a pretty poor start. Because I swapped in though, I did get a little bit of energy advantage on the Abomasnow, so I go for this play rough, does a good chunk to the Abomasnow, and he's going to go for a charge move here. I probably could have played this one a little bit differently because he's going to land this energy ball, and Azumarill can tank an energy ball, which will then allow me to get to another charge move. If I would have called the big move and shielded it, maybe if we matched shields I could have outpaced him and potentially won switch advantage back, because essentially I force him to use a shield here, whereas I'm going to leave this situation and not use a shield and essentially let him continue to have switch advantage. But overall, what you'll notice is our team comps do not match well for my favor, unfortunately. I'm going to bring in Machamp here to essentially counter down the Abomasnow, but because it's a Shadow Machamp and he's at a charge move, I have to make sure I shield this to preserve Machamp's health as much as I possibly can. I counter down the Abomasnow, fully expecting the defense Deoxys to come back in. I don't want to insta swap into Umbreon. I want to see if I could do some damage to the Deoxys first, then bring in Umbreon, and then hope maybe he doesn't have a counter for my Umbreon. This Rock Slide goes through, does a good chunk, about 40%, took half of the Deoxys' remaining health, so it's pretty solid from Machamp considering it doesn't get stabbed, but that's that shadow power that you're hoping for. Now he threw a Rock Slide, I swapped, he counters my swap with an Azumarill. So I'm like, alright, this is GG. I could pray it doesn't have play rough, but even then, Umbreon and Azumarill is not a positive matchup for me, even though I did swap in first, got a little bit of extra energy. So I'm going to continue to play this out. I'm curious to see how close I can potentially keep this match. Maybe I can do some damage. Yeah, he has play rough, so it definitely doesn't help. But maybe I can do some last resort damage, bring in Machamp, maybe he keeps in Azumarill, and Umbreon can land a foul play on the Deoxys. That's essentially my mindset here, trying to keep this as close as possible. But this team is really weak to Azumarill, like we've gone over, and it is really weak to Defense Deoxys because of the fact that Defense Deoxys will resist Machamp's counters. It could have Thunderbolt for Azumarill's, and then even though Umbreon beats Defense Deoxys, the counters from Defense Deoxys deal super effective damage to Umbreon's, so it's still not the most positive situation, even though the charge moves from Deoxys don't really hurt Umbreon much. So I swapped in Machamp there, but he immediately swaps into Deoxys. He's able to counter me down. I can't get to another Rock Slide. Didn't want to throw a Cross Chop because I just would have been resisted. And I needed 2 charge moves there to potentially win. He gets to his charge move here, throws a Rock Slide, takes out my Umbreon. JCho, that was GG, man. Good match. Well played. 1-1 on the set with Shadow Machamp so far. Lost lead pretty hard in the last one, so I'm hoping we can bounce back, get a positive lead. And you know what Machamp's favorite lead is out of the Season 3 meta? Galarian Stunfisk. These counters maul. My opponent brings in a Defense Deoxys, and here is where I want my Umbreon to be facing the Defense Deoxys. This is ideal. Yes, those counters are dealing super effective damage, but I will be able to spam these foul plays, which are going to hurt Defense Deoxys real bad. Whereas those Rock Slides, don't do that much damage. Umbreon can tank quite a few of them. So, going for a foul play here. Gets a first shield. Awesome. Got shield advantage. My opponent, I think, was really just hoping to get switch advantage back here, which is why they shielded. So I'm like, you know what? I will match you with a shield of my own on this Rock Slide coming through. That's fine. I should essentially be able to outpace on the charge moves, which means I should be able to keep switch advantage and allow my Pokemon to stay lined up. I throw another foul play here. This one also goes shielded, and I think my opponent's logic was also to try and get my shields because Shadow Machamp needs shields to be successful. That Machamp on Galarian Stunfisk matchup is not as good for me if my Machamp doesn't have any shields. So my opponent expended both of their shields there. They're going for another charge move here, and I think to myself, you know what? Azumarill could deal Galarian Stunfisk too, so I don't mind losing switch advantage here. I could bring in Azumarill, keep shield advantage, and I could bubble down the Defense Deoxys. If my opponent wants to bring in their Galarian Stunfisk for my Azumarill, be my guest, because I can just throw a Hydro Pump once it comes through. They go for their charge move. It ends up being a Rock Slide, which helps my situation even more because I don't have to worry about using my last shield, and I can commit to that farm down that I just completed. They bring in Galarian Stunfisk. I go for the Hydro Pump right away, not trying to play any games here. This will get the Galarian Stunfisk extremely low, right in the red. Bring in Machamp real quick to kind of catch my opponent off guard, counter down the Galarian Stunfisk, and now this is just GG. This game is over. So yes, they have an Azumarill in to try and match my Machamp, but I have a shield and I have energy, and you see that those Rock Slides chunk. That did about a third of Azumarill's health, and these counters, as much as they are resisted by Azumarill's fairy typing, they do a lot of damage to Azumarill. So he goes for an Ice Beam, or she goes for an Ice Beam here. I'm able to get to another Rock Slide. This will get the Azumarill all the way into the red. Let's wait for it to go through. And I can just commit to a counter down of the Azumarill, and my opponent decides to quit. So, Shadow Machamp, Azumarill counter, confirmed. Not exactly, but that is one situation where Machamp could really go off. Getting into the fourth match of the set, we're going up against Turbo Chuzzo-O, and we got a Machamp on a Skarmory lead. I've been seeing a bunch of these. Not too surprised I'm leading with Machamp, but I figured out a way I like to play it. I like to build all the way up to the Rock Slide and then bait with the Cross Chop, because the Rock Slide goes through, Machamp can actually win out this matchup, and honestly, even these neutral Cross Chops hurt Skarmory a lot, so I got the shield, swapped, and kind of took advantage of the CMP glitch. Wasn't really trying to, I didn't realize we CMP tied there, and caught the Sky Attack on my Azumarill, which was great because I didn't have to use a shield there. Oh, look at that fancy Pokemon that just came out. It looks like we got a little Caleb Peng team feature on my channel. They bring in Shift Tree to counter my Azumarill. I'm going for a Play Rough here. Gets their last shield, so I'm at an extreme shield advantage right now. And what I'm really hoping is that I can outpace them to the next Play Rough. So I let them throw this Leaf Blade. It will not take me out. They're running Snarl. They cannot snarl me down. And I'm really hoping I can save 2 shields and go for the Play Rough here. Unfortunately, we CMP tie, which will force my last shield. I will continue to throw the Play Rough because it will take out the Shift Tree. I could have let this go down and really brought in Machamp to just go to town on the Shift Tree, but I kind of wanted to get switch advantage, so I do that, take out the Shift Tree, they bring in Meganium to vine with me down, and now I can bring in my Machamp to line up with the Meganium, which is much better for me than lining it up with the Skarmory. Now, they pulled a really great swap there. I go for the Cross Chop. This is still going to hurt the Skarmory quite a bit, but they will be able to fast move me down, so I swap in my Umbreon, and because their Skarmory is so low, I can let them throw a Sky Attack or two, and I can commit to a Snarl down of their Skarmory, which will put me in a very positive situation. So, once this is completed, I'll be essentially filled up with 2 Foul Plays here, and I'll be able to throw them, take out the Meganium. Honestly, I'm pretty sure Umbreon can do the rest of this job for the team and win me this match. Now, I'm pretty impressed with what I'm seeing from Shadow Machamp. Obviously, as a Shadow Pokemon, you already know, increased attack, lower defense, require shields. I could have probably put a better team around Machamp because I do have that Charm weakness, I do have that weakness to Azumarill, I do have a bit of a weakness to Defense Deoxys, but overall, you want to make sure you're pairing Machamp with tanky Pokemon. See how my opponent quit there? This team is still going to work. So, if it wasn't obvious, yes, pair your Shadow Pokemon with tanky Pokemon so that your Shadow Pokemon can keep all the shields and your tanky ones can absorb all the other hits. Now, getting to the last match of the set, we got Machamp on the Azumarill lead. And I know this isn't a positive one for me, but I want to still play it out a little bit because I know these Rock Slides can definitely hurt. You don't want to throw a Cross Chop, it would be resisted. Azumarill's Fairy typing, so throwing a Rock Slide here, actually gets a shield, which is pretty cool, so I decided to swap into my own Azumarill to counter theirs, but then they matched me with a Venusaur, and this is where I regret not having Ice Beam on my Azumarill, because of the fact that I have shield advantage here, and if I had Ice Beam on my Azumarill, I probably could have won switch advantage, but then again, at the same time, how much was winning switch advantage really going to help me? Because I just line up my Umbreon with the Azumarill, so this really just isn't a positive situation. If my opponent's Azumarill does not fall on my Azumarill, this team is not too set up for success, unfortunately. So, Azumarill goes down, I bring in Umbreon. Their Venusaur has a ton of energy because they farmed the heck out of my Azumarill. They throw a Frenzy Plant here, does about a third of my health. They're throwing another Frenzy Plant here because of how much they farmed off my Azumarill. This will do another third of my health. And I was going to try to commit to a farm down, but considering they got my Umbreon down so low, I'm like, you know what, I can overfarm a little bit, but I got to throw a Foul Play here. But even with shield advantage here, because I haven't used a shield yet, I'm still not in a great situation because of that Azumarill. And we still got to figure out what their third Pokemon is, which is an Altaria. And because Azumarill is down, I literally have no play here. I can throw a foul play, which is great, but that does very minimal damage to Altaria, and then they just bring in their Azumarill to counter my Machamp. I decide to use 2 shields because I want to see how much damage Machamp can do to Azumarill, but unfortunately, this match did not line up nicely for my Pokemon, because honestly though, even Venusaur, I really didn't want to see that on my Machamp. I guess Umbreon could have kind of dealt with the Venusaur, and then my Azumarill could have dealt with their Azumarill, and then hopefully their Altaria would have had no shields, and I just could have thrown a bunch of Rock Slides from my Machamp. That would have really just been like my only win condition. I am able to take out the Azumarill, but it required both my shields, whereas they use none. I will throw one of those Rock Slides against their Altaria, like I mentioned, but this will get their last shield. They're going to be able to Dragon Breath me down, and then if they have the energy, or Umbreon was pretty low, so yeah, they're just going to be able to Dragon Breath my Umbreon down and take the last match of this set. Overall, this team definitely had its strengths and weaknesses. Put together a positive 3-2 set. We did see a good chunk of its weaknesses in Azumarill, Defense Deoxys, and Altaria is a bit of a weakness if it doesn't land on Azumarill, but we also saw some of his strengths. Definitely took care of Galarian Stunfisk really well. If we would have seen any Regiseals, definitely would have handled them. We were also able to beat Caleb Peng's team. Shadow Machamp can really go off, so might not have been the best team for it, but Shadow Machamp is definitely a Pokemon I'd recommend trying out in Great League, Go Battle League battles. If I got to score this team, I think I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I'm on the fence of recommending it. I feel like clearly I went positive so we could win some matches, but the weaknesses do concern me just quite a bit. So let me know what you thought of the team. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video.